Emma's produced alongside you all of your feature films. What were the unique challenges that Oppenheimer presented to the two of you working on it?
I think, actually, I mean, shockingly, for a film that cost almost $100 million, was really, the budget was a complicated thing. There was a lot to get on screen, period film covering 60 years. So each department had to really be smart and efficient about how they were going to do it. And I think from a production point of view, from a producing point of view, that's always a huge challenge, because you're trusting people to not make mistakes. There's enough money there if everything goes according to plan. The problem is, things don't always go according to plan. And I think for a producer, for us as producers, it's always a bit tricky to go in without too much headroom, without too much of a safety net. But, things went well. People, the different department heads, they responded very well to the budget challenges, and really got an enormous amount on screen for what we had.
I think that this film actually I think in some ways it's sort of, it was less about the sort of the physicality and the logistics of shooting it that was challenging. That was challenging, don't get me wrong, but we felt like we could handle it. I think it was more a question of how it was going to work in the sort of in the cutting room, in a way, or sort of how it was going to work as an experience for audiences. Because when I read the script and I knew it was going to be 3 hours long, I was not entirely sure whether that was going to be as exciting as it then ended up being. But Chris is always, he always approaches every film very much as an audience member. I think he makes films that he would like to see. He's always got a very, very keen idea of sort of how the experience is going to work for audiences. And I think that when it probably wasn't until I actually saw the film for the first time that I really understood that, oh my God, of course you knew what you were doing.
Is there anything for the two of you, such as unwinding with a glass of wine while you're doing the shoot, or then while you're working on the edit afterwards, or is it just too intense?
No, I mean, you have to have some kind of a balance, and I think working together on these films is a huge benefit in terms of we both completely understand what the other's going through, and we also remind each other to draw a line under at the end of the day, or try to, and not bring everything home. But it's a balance, as I say. But I'm very, very lucky to work with Emma, so she understands what we're going through. But we try not to talk about work all the time when we're at home, and have a bit of a distinction there. But yeah, you have to be able to take the weekend off and relax a bit, and so she backs me up in my decision to not do. I don't do 6-day work weeks, for example, which some people do on location, because I think you do need time to just recharge, and I need time to be able to sort of think about what I shot last week and prepare for the week ahead.
Shooting is super intense. Like, we have no lives outside of shooting when we're shooting, but it's only one period in the overall sort of process of making a film, and prep is fantastic. Well, I would say fantastic. I don't love prep, because prep is all about preparing for what could go wrong, and it always seems a little bit insurmountable. I think that post is the time that is the most fun, where I, as a producer, I'm not in the cutting room the whole time, where Chris is, crazed. And it's where it's all coming together. You've done the hard work, and it's just about sort of putting it all together. And I think that then we do get to relax. Once the film is out and that bit is done, then we generally tend to go on maybe holiday. We went on a holiday this year with our kids. And of course it was fantastic, because the film was doing well, and that was wonderful. But he's already desperate to get back to work, so yeah, we're back on the cycle again.
Short-lived relaxation. What do you think is the biggest misconception about you and the films that you make?
I think that'd be hard to answer, because the truth is, we've had such great connections with audiences over the years, in particular with Oppenheimer, particularly with the number of young people who've gone to see it multiple times and really watched the film in the spirit that it was intended. I think it'd be churlish to complain about misconceptions, honestly. I mean, certainly as far as the work goes, I think I've been very fortunate that people have responded to the work largely in the way that we intended it.
I think the biggest misconception for me is that people don't think of him as being funny, or they think of him as being very serious, okay? And they think of the films as being serious. I find them very funny. I think that most of them have some pretty funny moments. And he is very funny. Like, he's actually quite, he's not as deadly serious and sort of as everyone imagines him to be. The big thing is probably that thing of never really getting, not so much a break. Sometimes it's difficult to get perspective on things because you're in it 100% of the time. And so that thing of sort of being able to step back and take the 30,000 foot view is sometimes a little bit difficult, although we're pretty good between the two of us of sort of looking at each other and saying, well, no, you're quite worried about that, but I think, it works really well as a sort of partnership, I think, because we are able to have very honest conversations, and that is, I think all the positives outweigh the negatives. I'll put it that way.